Back here with another breakdown with Brea. I'm here with Jon Jon Gazdar, and we're going to talk a little bit of situational hitting today in the batting cage. Not exactly, my forte, but he's going to show us exactly how he does it at the plate in different situations. So, first off, Jon Jon, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So, let's just talk about you a little bit as a hitter. How have you kind of came and developed into who you are at the plate today?
It's definitely taken a lot of time and practice over the years, but I'd definitely say like this last year at Austin Peay and even this summer, I've definitely kind of come into my own and figure out the things that work for me and the things that I should be focusing on at the plate.
What is that you usually focus on at the plate?
Mainly being simple and just taking things one pitch at a time. Definitely not trying to overdo it. There's been times in my past where I've tried to yank off balls and trying to pull the ball and be a big pull hitter, big power guy, but I just kind of figured out that that's not the best for me. And so recently up here in the season, I was just really just trying to catch barrels as often as possible, and I found that's worked for me.
So how do you describe yourself as a hitter?
I really just try to be like an annoyance to the pitcher, honestly. Just try to swing at strikes and take balls. Just trying to swing any pitches that are close to the zone that I know I can handle, and just try to catch barrels as often as possible.
Are there any players that you've modeled your game after in the box?
I kind of like to take things from a lot of different hitters personally. There's a lot of guys at Austin Peay that I learned a lot from this year, and even one guy that was in the Cape, Miller Green. He taught me a lot about hitting. We talked a lot about it, and even out here, I've talked to a good amount of guys about it. One of the guys I often credit and will again is Cam Smith. I talked to him a lot about hitting, and he just has a really good approach to the play, and he's a really mature hitter. So I figure why not learn from him while I can up here. So.
Yeah, two of those guys that you just mentioned, Miller Green and Cam Smith, are big power home run hitters. Do you see yourself developing more into that, or are you staying true to yourself?
Yeah, hopefully over time. Hopefully over the fall, I'll be able to pack on a little bit more muscle, and then be able to hit some more balls hard. But pretty much the basis of everything and the way I plan on hitting is just hitting balls hard as often as possible. And hopefully with time and as time goes on, and as I get stronger, more homers will come. But it's not something I can force. For me, the main focus is always going to be just hitting the ball as hard as possible and catching barrels, honestly.
So when you're taking BP, what does that look like? What are you focusing on?
The same thing pretty much, just trying to be simple. Definitely not trying to ever do too much. Not really ever trying to hit homers or anything like that, like a lot of guys can. A lot of guys take it as an opportunity to kind of see how far they can hit the ball. For me, that just doesn't really do anything for me. So for me personally, I'm just trying to hit the ball hard, keep it on a low ball flight, and just backspin balls, and personally just kind of get my mind right before the game.
Yeah, let's talk about mindset. What does that look like for you? What's your kind of pregame routine, and then also as you're stepping into the box for the first time?
I don't really have to have like a set routine. The main thing that I always like to do though is just listen to music. I have my few artists I like to listen to before the games and just kind of get my mind right. But heading into the box, I'm just trying to be as calm as possible, just focus on my breathing, and then just take things one pitch at a time. I believe if you kind of think too much about the pitch or your mechanics, you're already kind of putting yourself in a bad place. So personally, I just try to keep my mind pretty much blank and just focus on one pitch at a time.
How much are you communicating with your teammates that have already hit against a certain pitcher between at bats?
Pretty much every single time. That's pretty much huge for me. As long as I'm not leading off, I'm always asking the guys what they're looking like or how they're pitching or how it looks out of their hand. And if I am leading off, I'm always one to tell my guys what it looks like or what I saw, because I believe it's a team game. The communication part of hitting is a big key.
All right, well, let's move on into seeing what you do. We're really excited to break that all down, so let's get started.
I just have this routine where I just kind of dig my feet in, set up my feet, make sure my feet are aligned the way I usually want to do it, and then just look at my bat, take a deep breath, and then just get ready to go. Get ready to the box and locked in. In the box, I'm usually pretty high up there. I'm usually just kind of hanging out, waggling my hands, keep my upper body loose. I'm a big believer in staying loose. I believe that the looser you are, the faster your hands work. It doesn't look too much differently. I'm just trying to pretty much see the ball a little bit deeper. Pretty much I'm trying to catch the ball up front most times if I'm like trying to get a hit or trying to hit for some power. But if it's a situation where it's like a runner on second with less than 2 outs, usually I'm trying to move them and see the ball a little bit deeper. See if I can catch on the other side of the plate, on the back half, or on the opposite field half, and drive it that way. They're pretty much always like a little bit choked up anytime I hit. Sometimes with two, I'll even go a little bit more, get up here. But besides that, I mean, pretty much this last year, I started choking up just a tiny bit, just with my hand being slightly off the knob, and I've loved it ever since and just stayed with it. Two-strike approach, I like widen out. So usually I'm a little bit taller, but like before two strikes, then I get two strikes, I go a little bit lower and a little bit more in my legs, and then just try to like lower my leg lift so that way I can see the ball a little bit longer and try and spit on pitches if they're going to be balls and just be ready to hit a mistake and yeah, hit a ball in the zone. Definitely move up in the box because pretty much every single time I'm going to be swinging, I'm in like pretty much the very back of the box just to see the ball as long as possible. So I usually don't like step like up in the box right away because then that kind of like tells the defense right away that you're going to be bunting. So I'll usually start in the back of the box where I normally am, and then as the pitcher lifts his leg, I'll usually take a step up and then set up. Usually a sack bunt, I'm trying to like square around like pretty much right before he's lifting, like a split second before he lifts his leg, so that way I can be able to like get my eyes behind it. Drag bunt, I'm pretty much trying to get it down, start moving as he lifts his leg, so that way it doesn't really tell the defense right away. I love push bunting. I love doing it with the lefty. That's pretty much the main time you're going to want to do is if it's like a lefty that's like say falling over, they can bunt it to the side of them. But pretty much you have to get the right pitch. That's the main problem or the hardest thing about it. But if you get the right pitch, you just kind of go with it. And if you get in the right spot between the first base and the pitcher, it's pretty much easy knock most of the like probably like 99 times out of 100. Pretty much for as long as I've played baseball, I've always kind of like altered and messed around with my swing. Like I pretty much always try to mess with new feels. I'm a big like feels guy when it comes to hitting because you see like all these different players and hitters. I mean, they all can be successful, but they all do different things and do different things that works for them. So for me personally, I've always kind of toyed around with different things. But yeah, I would say like this past year, I definitely started going a little bit more open and then a little bit more taller up. In my past years, I've been a little more sunken down and kind of leaves you a little more restricted. But as I've kind of like loosened up and then stood a little bit taller, it's made me a little bit looser, and then I feel like it's made my reaction time a little bit faster. It's pretty much all based off the rhythm of the pitcher. Pretty much before I go to hit, like if I'm ever on deck or anything like that, or even like before I get on deck, I always try to time up the pitcher because my leg lift does like take a little bit of time. So it really isn't no like set time, say like when the pitcher releases or say, but it really just depends on how the pitcher's throwing, what his rhythm is like, because every single pitcher is different, along with just like how every single hitter is different. Pretty much every single time I'm gonna stand in like the back of the box. For me, like I want to see the ball as deep as I possibly can and see it for as long as I possibly can. I feel like if I move up, I lose a half second to see the ball, and to me, like every single like split second in this game matters because every single inch and millimeter matters when it comes to swinging and timing and all that kind of stuff. So for me, I'm always standing in the back of the box. I might adjust either like more closer to the plate or more off the plate depending on a pitcher's tendencies. But besides that, like as far as like how back I'm gonna be, I'm pretty much always in the back of the box every single time.